so many of your fans, Dale, were disappointed to learn that you were getting out of the car. Obviously, you were concerned about your health, your concussions, and you talk about it in racing to the finish here. You were, this is fascinating to me. So you were writing down symptoms you were feeling, typing it into your phone?
Yeah.
When did you first start doing that, when you realized that maybe I need to start documenting the way I'm feeling?
Yeah, so I had a crash in 2012 and a couple wrecks that I layered 2 concussions together within a month and got in some pretty bad trouble physically with that. Ended up at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center with Michael Collins, who works with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Penguins, aside from seeing the everyman, kids, housewives, anyone who's suffered an injury like that. But he's a specialist in concussions, and he has a huge team around him and just an incredible facility, an incredible man. But I got put in front of him and that, when I was going through those concussions in 2012, and he helped me get well, gave me my life back, fixed all the problems I had.
What were the problems that you were having?
At that time, concussions are like snowflakes. Every one you get is different. Every time you get a concussion, you don't always have the same symptoms. You may have, or it may be taste, emotions, eyes, balance, emotion. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that the mind is. It's a computer, And
I know we've seen what Luke Kuechly got carted off with a concussion. He was crying hysterically.
Couldn't control
and people
it.
are like, they thought maybe he broke his leg or something. No, he was concussed.
And you can't. It's a switch, like that crying. That emotion is a switch that flips on like a broken faucet that you can't turn off. And and that's the way all the symptoms are, because they just they're out of control. But I had at that time I was dealing with fogginess, basically like the worst hangover you've had, all day, every day, not going away, and nausea and some balance issues, but mainly just a fog, feeling disconnected, like I couldn't carry a conversation with people. I couldn't enjoy the moment or be in the moment. A lot of emotional things and short temper and anxiety, really, really raging anxiety, going into complex environments with busy things happening and lots of people around. Oh man, it was just terrible. But he fixed that and we got well. Well, going through that experience, I thought I was educated enough to manage it if it happened again. If I got in another crash, I called it a subconcussion. If I crashed and felt bad, it'd go away in a couple of days and I would be fine. And as long as it wasn't any more serious than that, I didn't need to probably alert Mickey or do anything. And in case, it was serious, I would document it. When the crash would happen on Sunday night, I would write down in these notes on my phone what I felt. I'd write down probably 3 or 4 entries every day after that until it would go away. And, and I would race for a month or 2 without any problems and crash again and repeat that process. And I did that. I had about 12 of those concussions from 2012 to 2016. I suffered about 12 of those types of concussions, and it caught up with me. I got to where one day, just out of nowhere, the last crash I had was on June 12th in Michigan in 2016. 4 weeks later, I woke up one day and I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up I couldn't get out of this chair without holding on to it.
Out of the blue?
Just out of the blue. I couldn't walk across the room without holding on to that table. Turn a corner, you got to grab the wall. And any kind of motion with my head, up, down, all around, would send me spinning. And it came out of nowhere. I had no impact to link it to. The last crash was a month ago. And, you think concussions are immediately connected to an event.
Sure.
In that moment, right? Well, they're not. They don't always have to be. They can, you can have these concussion issues. That's what tricks a lot of people, is these issues can kind of come weeks after the crash or the impact that you have or the event that you have. So that's what happened. I put all the, I did this, I beat myself up for all these years trying to manage it myself. And I ended up with really, really debilitating symptoms, balance. My eyes didn't work well. I couldn't, they call it gaze stabilization. So when I'd walk across the room, my eyes would sort of have a hard time. The room would shake. You know, driving down the road in a car, road signs and cars around me are bouncing around like crazy.
No kidding.
You couldn't, yeah, it was, you just had to stare at the floor. You couldn't ride down the road in a car. Me and my wife went to a tasting for our wedding, and it was a 2.5, 3 hour trip, round trip. And I just stared at the floorboard the whole way and the whole way home. It was just miserable. And so anyways, I find myself back at Mickey Collins in Pittsburgh, and I had to get out of the car. We were in the middle of the race season. He's like, you got to stop. And I had to take medication to help with my anxiety. That was the first time I had ever really taken any medication for my concussion symptoms. But he gave me a very robust package of treatment for 5 months. I was doing these exercises, physical exercises on computers for the visual stuff. The treatment that he gave me in 2016 was completely 180 from what he gave me in 2012, meaning that they've learned so much just in that short period of time. Because, you know, we're kind of living in this whole discovery of what's going on with CTE and what athletes are dealing with and changing the culture. And while all this is happening on the field and on the racetrack, scientists are now pushing the research. They're also obviously having patients and examples like myself to learn from. And more people are speaking up, knowing that they can go get treatment. In 2012, I didn't know I could go to a doctor, and I didn't know. I just thought you laid down and let it rest off and let it go away like a bruise. Well, now me and everyone else is learning that you can go to this doctor, you can go to a doctor, get treatment. So we're all in like hyperspeed, learning treatment, discovering things, understanding things, and it's amazing to be going through that process. But that's what the book's about. The book's about my missteps, my mistakes, trying to manage it myself. The book's about Mickey. Mickey comes in behind a lot of the conversation in the book and backs up some of the things I'm talking about, or explains why I'm saying the things I'm saying, doing the things I'm doing, what we did to treat X, Y, and Z. So he's as much of the book as I am, which adds a lot of substance and credibility to the story. And he writes the foreword, which is, I think, really powerful coming from him. And so all I want to do really is to drive people to Mickey. There's a bunch of Mickeys in this world, but Mickey is the man I know. And I want to drive people to Mickey in Pittsburgh that need his help. Whether you're an athlete or a housewife, a plumber, I don't care. And then if you had a injury 10 years ago that's still giving you problems today, Mickey can help you. And you can have this. I want people to have the best quality life they can. You know, that's really important for me, becoming a father and newlywed and all those things. I'm retiring from racing. I've got this amazing opportunity in front of me, life, in front of me. And so I want people to be able to enjoy what I'm enjoying.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.